welcome the director of the film, Nitzan Ofir. And to lead the Q&A, please welcome Lucy Irish.
This is a really hard, emotional film. I was crying here at least twice or three times because I saw this girl and I saw myself in a lot of events, and I think that I'll start with both of you. You know, we're always talking about that the key word for any understanding between Israelis, between Jews and Arabs, is education. It comes from what people are educating you at home. It comes from what your parents are teaching you. It comes with what the system is teaching you. And this girl is going to have, the Arab girl and the Jewish girl are going to have a lot of questions, especially after this meeting. When you saw the film at the end, did you feel what? Frustration, hope?
At first I felt a lot of sadness, especially in the scene, the almost last scene when you saw Lenore and the two friends, and all of a sudden she shifted. She was shifted. Yes. And we saw it in the front of the camera, and if I may just for a second just jump and say thank you, because we have the cameraman with us. So I'm very excited, and both of us saw it happening in front of the camera, and we were quite shocked.
And she always said this word, akitsa.
Yes.
Her grandmother told her, and
yes.
It was just stuck in her head.
Exactly.
And this just symbolized how much education at home is so important. And to see it you didn't want to scream and tell her, it's not like that. You cannot tell this to a young girl.
Yes, I did. But part of being a documentarist is to restrain yourself to be most of the time behind the camera, and let things happen, and they happened. And they kept evolving, and believe me, we took some parts out of it, and we left some of the more difficult parts on the editing floor, as they say. And
Anat, how much ignorance you encounter in projects and that you are doing when you're going to schools, when you're passing a message, when you're meeting people? How much ignorance you see from both sides about the other side?
I'm afraid I don't know yet. Actually, sitting in the editing room, watching the first material that came from Nitzan, every time they passed me the tissue box, I was crying my eyes for hours. The film began in a totally different way, but after I saw the materials, I said that's my mission, to go with this movie. And after like 1 year, we have succeeded, that the Education Ministry has accepted the movie to culture, how do you call it, Tarbut. So this is the mission.
The Education Ministry in Israel is trying to prevent now students from studying Arabic, and they're trying to cancel the fact that the Arabic is the second legal language that we have in Israel. So it's a good thing that they did that.
So since it's a private movie, we're going to do it like around them. And my mission is to go to every school now and to present this film. It's Sisma Lekol Talmid Pass the Word project is from 1st grade to 6th grade. So they are very young, and it's very important for us to to make more and more meetings, not just between Arabs and Jews, it's between
Jews and Jews.
Jews and Jews, exactly. And we have so many other minorities, like Czechs, Bedouins, Druze, Christians, Arabs and Jews, Sephardi, Ashkenazi. I mean, we have a lot of work to do, so I'm not sure how much ignorance I will find, but this is a beginning of a long journey. Samar is started coming with me to the screening in the schools, and it's fascinating how the kids love her, and they work her with lots of love, because they understand with all her problematic issues, first of all, she's Israeli, and she says it in the first scene of this movie, she wants to be an Israeli. And this is really, she's an amazing child. And she confronts really, really tough questions. I wish that many Israeli kids, Jews, will be as proud to be as Israeli as she is.
Yeah, and she will continue. Yes, definitely. She will continue facing a lot of problems during her life, believe me.
So I want her to meet you.
Yes. You said that you started this project, you started this movie Nitzan because you didn't know a lot about the society that you're living in. And my question is, who is the one to blame that we don't know a lot about the people who are living with us, that people in Tel Aviv never met an Arab man or woman, although they're living 2 blocks or 3 blocks away from them. So who should we blame for that? Us, the system, the government?
I think as you started, it's all about education. And my mission is to do a film about education first and foremost. And so it runs through, it starts in the family, goes to schools, and up and up, and I guess to the Ministry of Education to put it in the...
What did you didn't know?
Myself, I had a very strong intuition that not innocently I chose these two sports, of course. I was looking for the drama, I was looking for the conflict, I was looking to make this encounter between an Arab girl and a religious girl, knowing that it will bring some interesting story. I wasn't aware how much prejudice I will find in a way. I wasn't aware how much ignorance there is, and so this was a difficult part. I must say though that the one thing I learned about myself that was most important for me, that it's really possible to hold these two different opinions or I don't know how to say
to hold the contradiction together.
Yeah, together, and I found myself very attached to the grandmother. You will find it maybe surprisingly, and to the mother, and of course to Lenore, who I love very much. They are very welcoming, very warm to us. They have their own story, which unfortunately this film is too short to tell. So in a way, I do feel we do some harm on that issue. So it's very important, I believe, to keep in good relationship with people, even though they share very different opinions.
Are they friends? Or were you able to manage to get them back together?
No, actually we didn't. We didn't try to convince them to go beyond what they chose not to. Maybe I'm not going to elaborate on that.
Why? Why not to convince them that the devil is not that horrible? The devil, of course.
Yeah, of course. I want to add to a previous question of yours about where our responsibility, and I feel that from my experience as a second generation for Holocaust, I was born not to go to Poland and not to buy German, machines and cars, yeah. But I took my son, I went with my son, of course, last year to Poland, and went everything, and my choice was different than my previous, like my mother, and it's our duty to educate our kids, to accept, and at the same time to understand the stories behind the fear, the anger. So first of all, it's my responsibility to my children, and I will pass this, of course, between other parents and education people. Regarding Linor and Samar, Linor is kept in a very closed community, and her parents and the family decided for her at this time not to mix, because it's an age where they are very, very confused, and all we can it's to accept their, they decided what they decided for her at this point. Samar tried, but she couldn't break the wall at this time. But with a short conversation with Linor, when her mother was away and her grandmother, like in a different room, she was asking me questions, and you saw her big brown eyes, and she has questions, and we know that her choice will be different when she grows, and we promise to each other to follow this story and to make them to meet when the parents don't have the influence at this time.
I think that at the end of the day, it is our responsibility, because it is the people who do these films, because at the end of the day, we don't want this only to be screened and affect the people who are watching it. We want this to affect the people that we're making the movie on. And it's if somebody, like, let's talk a little bit about Samar and her family. Did you see the openness there? Because it seems that it's a little bit more open in one way or another to this. Of course, if you will ask the people.
Very complicated.
It's very complicated.
Because she's going to a mixed school, but her mother doesn't allow her to go out with her friends. So we cannot put everything here. This is a very short, focused
She's
story.
coming from Ramallah, which is
very, very complicated.
Very complicated.
It's just the take-home message from this 60 minutes movie is we have to make more children acquainted with each other. Like Linor said, I've never spoken to a Muslim girl, and she was afraid. And there was like a spark of love between them. And the fear was gone. That's the mission, to make more meetings, more acquaintance, to see that they are not strangely, so we have so much work, but we cannot do everything all together. So each one of us has a very small duty.
Yeah, and people need to understand that Israel is, you probably know, Israel is so small. It's like on the size of New Jersey. So it's like each and every time that I'm coming back from the States, I'm saying, oh my God, what are we fighting on? It's like we're fighting on this small piece of land some people are living there and they don't know each other. It's something that it cannot, after all these years, I cannot understand how people can just be so close and not know anything, and especially in the Jewish Israeli community. And because in the Jewish Israeli community, and this is the last question before I'm opening this to, because before we will start talking about trying to bring Arabs and Jews together, the Israeli Jewish society is so divided. It's divided between Ashkenaz and Sephardi and Ethiopians and Russians and people who are coming, religious, non-religious, and we saw these fights all along in the last few years, it becoming more and more divided. So I think that, tell me, do you think that a society that is not peaceful with itself can be peaceful with the other society?
Kids are the hope, as you saw. Without words. They were just looking at each other's eyes for 2 minutes, and it happened. So we have to invest in the kids. That's my belief.
Simple as that.
We got a lot of questions here.
And thank you so much. The school, how did you get access to the religious school, I think in Tel Aviv? And how, have you talked to them afterwards, what their reaction was to the film? I mean, there was this one family, we saw their reaction, but what about the teacher and the other families? How did they react?
Okay, so first of all, this school is part of the Sisma Past the World organization that reaches about 200 schools so far in the peripheries of Israel. So this is how I got to this school. And they immediately were very welcoming, me and the camera, and they were very open. And I found it very intriguing and interesting because it's a very different background than I grew up. So it was very interesting for me to make a research on that school. So that's special. So the first screening in Tel Aviv, the teachers, a few teachers came, of course the one who was participating with them and the principal, and they did come to the screening and they were very proud of it. Interestingly, very proud of it, and they felt that they are, passing their message and representing the school. They were very proud. The school was shown, and the family also. I was very nervous when I had to show them the film before, all screening it, and to get their permission, of course, which I had to get their permission to screen it. And I came with the cameraman, and we showed them the film, and they automatically approved of it, and even more and even the grandma was a little bit angry that we left out the few sentences she wanted. So they really believe in what they say, and that's it. Very proud.
I'm wondering if you can, it was amazing by the way, but I'm wondering if you could shed a little light on the mother of Leonor. And it appeared that, of course we didn't see everything, but it appeared in the initial scene when they have the discussion in the kitchen, she is very encouraging and supportive, and then does a complete about face. With the grandmother, it's unclear whether she just doesn't want to disrespect her mother. Did she have a change of heart in your perception, or was it she just didn't want to push up against the mother, the grandmother?
I think that she's, first of all, she's a wonderful lady. I really respect her and appreciate her. And I believe she herself is, inside of her, is really torn between the two agendas. And at first, when it was only talking about meeting with the schools and teachers and everything, so she was very, she agreed to it. But when it came to be so concrete, and was asking, really, can she keep in contact? Of course, it was both reasons. Also, the grandmother was very influential in this family and it's a great impact on everybody in the family. She runs the family. So once she was there, of course, she had to obey and she, And second, I think she herself felt that she has to keep Lenore not confused. And once she decided on her line, she felt that she has to be constant with that, consistent on that.
Samar has a problem where she's starting to deny her being in Harrod. You could see it when she doesn't want to go to the West Bank. You could see it with her. Another thing that disturbs me a lot was when she's singing Hatikha. And Nefesh Yehudi Omiyah, I don't know how to translate it, but Yehudi talks about the Jewish spirit. Omiyah, I don't even know what Omiyah means. So I just find it a little disturbing.
Lucy, do you have any comments with that?
I think maybe I will be able to answer about that. As a child, I know this scene. I was in this scene. I was the girl who's singing Yizkor in school and being the Ima Shel Shabbat at the kindergarten. But I think that I had two parents that, what the mother is trying to do is that to tell her, you are part of a Jewish school, you are studying in a Jewish, you are living in a Jewish community, but you are Muslim. I think that we have a lot of questions when we are children. I had a lot of questions when I was a child, but in one way or another, I think that it got down to my parents that were very clear in a lot of things. They let me live my life. They let me experience things. They let me be part of the society. But at one point, and she will get to that point, she will stop singing Azika. That would happen to me. Until a certain point, I was singing Nefesh Yehudi Homia. But there was this one time that there was a bombing in Israel where I understood that I'm not Jewish because the entire school was like calling me filthy Arab. So I got to this point where I understood that I'm not Jew and I don't have Nefesh Yehudi Homia. That was the point that I stopped singing Atikva. And there is a point that you come and you understand your identity. She cannot escape from what she is and who she is. But she will have a lot of problems if her parents, if the mother, if her brothers, and Lod is, wow, thank God that I didn't live in Lod. I lived in Dimona, which is a small community, very right-wing community, but Lod is really, really complicated, and I really hope for her that she will have a good safety net that will provide her the stability and the understanding that it's okay to be an Arab and it's okay to be Muslim.
Actually, it happens in the last few months when she's being asked by kids, how does it feel for you to ask to sing the Tikva? And when a kid asks her this question is so different. And then she replies, it's because I respect the school and my friends that I'm learning with. And as you saw, she was dressed to respect the place she's going to. And she's an amazing girl. And she told me, maybe I should stop singing the Tikva. It hurts so many people. So, this age now, she was 14 2 weeks ago. She was 12 when this was shoot. So she's going through a progress. And everybody tells her, because we meet Arab teachers and students and pupils tell her, you have to keep your identity. And I follow her. It's a very, very interesting process, and I feel like I have to be near her to protect her, near her mother.
I'm not an Arab.
Sorry. You got that question. I'm going to further complicate what is already a very complicated situation, and I'll tell you why. I think that I've become increasingly cynical about this concept of if we could only meet halfway, if we were able to, whether it's at a social level, or really at a social level, if we have an opportunity to meet, that in some way that will support empathy, at the very least. If not, start the dialogue around coexistence. But the former Yugoslavia, and I don't buy into the centuries of ethnic hatred, is an example of a country where there were interreligious marriages, where you served in the military together, you went to school together, and then for me, because I'd started my career in the Balkans, what was the most difficult was reading reports about, I was raped by a neighbor, my husband was killed by my neighbor. These are people who took coexistence to a new level, and yet that could be reversed within a matter of months, really, I would say, rather than centuries. Because that was the narrative that the West really bought into. That's my question, is, do you genuinely believe that? Because I don't think that with these two girls, that is the only case where they've tried to bring Arabs and Israelis together.
Arabs and Jews. We're all Israelis.
Well, I will not make peace in the world. I'm just trying to make very, very small steps where I can. So that's what I'm trying to do.
I was wondering if you could touch the subject of when Lino switches her emotional and inner feelings into the ideological part regarding the fear, I think, of the grandmother. So if you could
Maybe more specific, in what way would you like?
in the sense of how could you not give the ideological issues go over your inner feelings, her approach to Sama and not the ideological issues of the grandmother and the mother.
I think that I will try to rephrase the question. I think that how can you affect maybe a child to stay with the child feeling and not translate it to directly to ideology like the grown-ups are doing?
Not only child, but
Can you? But
if yes,
if you can.
right.
I'm a little bit puzzled with that question.
Do you feel that it was possible to not do the switch, that she won't get to the ideology part and she will stay naive?
I was hopeful, I must say, because it all happened in quite a short time. The meeting, and then we went with her to the grandmother. It all happened in one day, actually. A few weeks later, we came back to the school to do this next scene. I myself was quite shocked, I must say. I was very surprised to see this automatic change. I guess I was naive in a way, because Lenore, throughout all the way, was she's very naive, but very smart, her heart is in the right place, and she's very curious, and very open. That's what I felt. It just made me sad.
Very smart also.
Yeah, very smart.
Very smart.
Very sensitive, very sensitive, very smart. So I was very sad just to realize that. And as I feel like her, I felt like it's not my job to interfere or to get in between her and her parents. And it's not. I felt it's not right for me to interfere at that point.
It's a good thing that I didn't do this
There are a lot more questions and a lot more to say, and I actually don't want this conversation to end. So here's the deal. With your permission, of course, we have another movie starting in here in about 20 minutes, so we need to clear the room. But we will continue this conversation in our Speakeasy Cafe, which is up in the lobby. The best way to go is up these stairs, then to the left, up the stairs on the side. Take your seats there, and we'll continue this conversation. If you have tickets to the next film, Fire Lines, which is a fabulous film, we'll be sure to make sure that you get down here in time for that with seats. So thank you all. Thank you to the panel for now, and thank you for continuing this conversation. Okay, folks, we're going to get started in here to continue the conversation. Thank you for joining us, and the hands are already up in the air. I guess we need no introduction. I'm just waiting for Anat to get back on stage, and Lucy's making her way up, and a few others are coming in. For those of you who would like to see Fire Lines, which starts at 4 o'clock, we'll make sure to get you down, so don't worry. And we're going to do this somewhat informally and let you just ask the questions and give some answers. So there's a battle. Anat, you're joining us? Okay, we're going to start right here.
What I was thinking about when you did this film is, supposing you had gotten two families or two girls together, one from a religious Jewish home and one from a more secular Jewish home. And they had met. What would the families, what would the girls have been like?
This question, of course, is very important because this is just one meeting for this movie and for the story, but I'm sure that a different meeting between a religious and a Chiloni girl would not be much different. I'm not so sure that the grandmother of Lino would accept an invitation from my daughter in Tel Aviv. So that's why we're such a colorful community in Israel. So we have to open our doors to everyone. This is my mission.
Yeah, thank you. So the inception of this program or of the meeting of the schools was initiated because you guys wanted to make the movie? And two, who was responsible for sort of like the curriculum of how it was going to happen? How were they going to prepare the children? Because like when the bus got in, the principal seemed like she was asking questions. She didn't know how this was going to sort of pan out. And whose idea was it for the girls to look at each other's eyes? Like how it was going to unfold once you got them together? Whose idea, responsibility was that?
Okay. So for the... okay. This process of meeting was actually our idea. And but it is followed through this organization. It is followed by other meetings. I mean, so it was a starting point for new initiatives in this sense. I wasn't. We were planning. I mean, the procedure, but each school took it to their own plan. You know, they made the preparation. They decided how to prepare the students for the meeting, and I just must say that it was of course much delicate in the religious side, because it's really not obvious that a religious school would agree for such a meeting, and yeah, and of course to be filmed. And the principal, who was in part very brave, but on the other hand, and she and her and the teacher who participated in the process, they kind of did it. I don't know how to say, but we kind of we went very fast with it in order not so the rabbi of the school wasn't involved in it, because otherwise he could not agree. So we kind of yeah, you know. Yeah.
It occurred to me that perhaps if you had not thought about the meeting and continued communicating by writing, it might have had a greater length of survival. Once you talk about a Jewish girl going to an Arab house, even where the Arab girl is afraid for her safety, that kind of terminates any possibility. If they had just been encouraged to communicate through the computer, it would have, I think, allowed a lot more to have evolved and it's grown. That's my opinion.
I can't agree more. This meeting was evolved because of the film that we were making, and since I'm coming from the educational part, from the project, we made we made our homework how to do it. So I totally agree with you that to write, to have this pen pal writing to each other for a longest time, and to raise more issues to talk about, and to learn about each other's, where we live and how we live, and not to make to wait longer before we meet. I totally agree, and something that we plan to do in our mission through this project, through this educational project. So thank you.
Thank you very much for the film. We were actually talking to your cameraman a little bit because I'm fascinated by the technique and the process of how you made this film. So I guess my question is really, were you surprised at the results you were getting? And did you, I mean, you obviously set out to document what it would be like to have these two cultures meet. But were you surprised by the results that you got? That's my question.
Yes, very much.
Hi, I want to say, first of all, thank you for the film, but thank you especially for focusing on girls. It was wonderful to see that age girl in the spotlight and to feel with them what it was like growing up. We hear perhaps more about boys in Israel, so this was a very special thing to begin with. But also, I guess my question is, do you know about Ultimate Peace, which is an ultimate Frisbee set of camps where Jewish and Palestinian children play Frisbee together. And it's a very active engagement, and it's very equal, and there's a whole infrastructure for teaching sportsmanship in very concrete ways that perhaps might shed light on things that you're trying to do that get harder when we don't have the rules of the game.
I will add to that that this is not a coexistence project between Palestinians and Israelis, except Israeli Palestinians, Arab Israelis, otherwise known as, but it's more internal, and the project focuses in general on minorities within Israel connecting to one another. Okay, we're going to take 3 last questions.
Thank you for the film. It was very, very moving. And I hope this wasn't already asked. How did you find 2 incredible young women? They were perfect.
They were actually really drawn to the camera. That's what I can say. I mean, I've been there for quite some time doing research, first in the school and then narrowing down to these 2 classes. And when we came one day to do something with girls and mothers, trying to look for our hero, we had a chance to be with Lenore and her mother, and right away all of us, all the crew, the cameraman, me and the soundman, knew that it's her. I mean, she was really sparkling out, and same as Samar. I mean, I was definitely looking for as she said, there were 3 Arab Israeli girls in the class, so I knew I'm going to choose one of them, and happily, I'm so happy that it was her, shining from the camera.
Thank you. Have you shown this to children, and what was their reaction, if you have?
Yeah, we just started the tour. I'm fascinated because each group in every kind of city is totally different, and different age groups. But one thing, they all fall in love with Samar and feel sorry for Lenore that she can't have her own decisions. They're very excited, as I said, to meet Samar. We've only done it for like 3 times. It's a new film, so the road is long. And if we meet next year, I can tell you more. But the children love it, and they all want to meet other children. They ask, where can we meet? When can we meet? Where can we go? They want to go. They want to write to each other. And children are, just
give them the part and they will play it. So I'm really looking forward.
Last question. I guess, so did you have, before making the movie, did you have any vision of how it would end up? And if yes, what was it?
Once we, in the research, it all started on a different topic. Where first I was about to make a film about these two principals in these two schools. But anyhow, once we decided to go for this story, I just, I couldn't really imagine what's going to be, you know, at the end. My hope was that they will connect, which happened. And my hope was that they will, you know, keep in contact. But yeah.
I'm sure you prayed for a grandmother to come in and add a lot of drama to it all,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
mix it all up. I just had one more question before we finish up. You mentioned that there are 3 Arab girls in the school.
Yeah.
How is the
Class.
integration internally within that classroom? Do these 3 girls stand out, or is there complete coexistence on that level?
From what I learned in this specific class, they were really embedded in the class, and they were quite, they did have friends, you know, as she told, her Israeli friend, her best friend was Jewish. And as you could see, it's a very mixed class, you know, in general. So yeah.
That gives a little hope.
Yeah.
I'd like to thank you both so much for the wonderful film.
Yeah. And just, I want to thank the other Israeli Film Festival for supporting this film, for inviting us. Thank you.
Pleasure to have you. Thank you for being a part of this conversation and allowing it to continue. 4 p.m. downstairs, fire lines, Israeli and Palestinian firefighters working together. Who doesn't love that? Come on. We'll see you down there and look forward to seeing you at other films throughout the week. Thank you very much.